Hey collectors, welcome to Star Wars Collected. I'm Jonathan. If you're new here, I hope you consider sticking around and subscribing. If you've been here before, I need all wings to report in by smashing that like button. My wife said I have to start saying smashing that like button. Speaking of all wings, inside of this box today we have the Denuo Novo General Merrick X-Wing pilot helmet. We're going to open it up, we're going to compare it to the Anovos helmet that precedes it, and we'll see how they are similar and see how they are different. Well, collectors, sometimes it seems when it rains, it pours. It wasn't that long ago that I had a huge long list of things from Anovos that they, quote unquote owed me, that I paid for, that they never gave me. Denuo Novo, we heard about them, oh gosh, almost a year ago, probably, something like that. Maybe it was 6 months ago that they were taking over for Anovos. And it was sort of like, well, we'll see. But in the last month, I have gotten my second helmet. So I'm excited about this. If you haven't seen it already, we did an unboxing and comparison of the Red 5 helmet. We compared it to the Black Series helmet. You can find that here on the channel. I will link that. But we are on to General Merrick. Now you might be able to see by the tape on the box, I ordered this one from Big Bad Toy Store. I think this was my first order from them ever. They were pretty great. At one point I was able to get my hands on the Ray Salvage X-Wing pilot helmet, which I had pre-ordered through them, and they refunded my money, which was super nice of them. But I did keep my order on for General Merrick, as well as the Ray quarterstaff. Last I knew, the Ray quarterstaff was something that they did not, meaning Denuo Novo, did not have in their production schedule at the moment. So we'll see if that comes around. I pre-ordered this in 2019. I decided to pre-order it through Big Bad Toy Store instead of going directly through Anovos for obvious reasons. Now, was I stupid to still pre-order something from Anovos? Yes, but it seems to have worked out. So we've got a box inside of a box. I know my collector friends out there will like that because they like having the shipper boxes in good shape. Personally, I don't care a lot. The last thing I need is more boxes, but that's okay. So this is very similar, of course, to our box that we just saw on Luke's helmet. It is extremely lightweight, just like the other one was. And no art on the outside of this box, but let's move inside and see what we have. Rogue One was, I think, an amazing film. It is a little structurally odd at times. You can sort of tell that it shifted gears partway through production. But I think that third act is some of the best Star Wars ever Star Wars. The more and more I think about Andor, the series coming out to Disney+, the more excited I get about the prospect of spending a little bit more time in the early days of the rebellion. All right. On top here, we sort of have this step and repeat type idea with that. So we'll take that down. And we've got ourselves a nice little poster here. So, General Merrick Blue Squadron helmet. And officially licensed costume accessory. Rebellion General Antoc Merrick commanded Yavin 4 starfighters before the Battle of the Death Star, flying as Blue Leader. Recreating using 3D scans, measurements, and references taken from the original screen-used production assets, this vacuum-formed ABS helmet is ready to wear and features the personalized helmet iconography worn by Blue Squadron leader General Merrick, a lined interior, and size-adjusted cushions. I have had the question asked, what era are they using? Now, my understanding is that all of their X-Wing pilot helmets are based off of Rogue One scans. Could be wrong, but I believe that's what I've heard. So this one is perfect then, because it's a Rogue One helmet. It is the only Rogue One helmet that I'm aware of. I don't know if the Ray Salvage helmet from The Force Awakens is the same as the Rogue One helmet or not, but I do know that there are, I guess, some slight differences between some OT helmets and the Rogue One General Merrick helmets. So perfect for this, maybe a little less perfect for Luke if you are looking for the absolute most screen accurate representation of that helmet. Okay. All right. Right off the bat, I see the weathering on it and I love it. It looks super good. Right now I am finishing a number of X-Wing helmets of myself. They are Black Series repaints, so it is kind of nice to have yet another representation in my collection that I can somewhat use as a base to figure out. Now I had moved on. I had assumed that I was never going to see this helmet, so I actually already bought decals to make my own General Merrick helmet, and now I don't need them. So that might be coming to an eBay near you, or if you're looking to buy decals for, what do I have? I have wedge decals, I have decals for this guy, I have decals for Trapper Wolf, because I never thought they would make Trapper Wolf, and then Hasbro announced that. But I might have some decals for sale here before too long. Once again, extremely lightweight, almost too lightweight. You know, if you're wearing it, that's not a bad thing, that's a great thing, but there is something about it, just doesn't have a lot of heft, and at times I wish it had a little bit more heft. But I think the weathering on this one, I think this is better, I would say, than what we had with Luke. Now, there are still some issues that I have with, and I totally get why they do it. They put the weathering just straight onto the decal and then apply the decal. So, you know, there's a little star here, a little 6-pointed star here, and there's part of it missing, but it's still there. It's just printed white. So that works pretty well. You know, you back it up a couple feet here, and it looks great. You'll never notice. But up close, you know, that weathering then can look kind of artificial. But other places, it's doing a fantastic job. This one actually looks like maybe they did it over top. Unless they printed that and then lined it up absolutely perfectly. I like that. I'm actually really in love with the weathering on top here. Some really great scratches, some really great dirt up in here. I just love how nobody washes their helmet in Star Wars. Like, I understand the scratches getting in and out of the X-Wing cockpit or A-Wing cockpit, whatever it is you're flying. I can understand where you would get knocked around a little bit here and there, but like, come on, there's soap, right? You guys have soap in Star Wars. I thought this was a cool pilot character in Rogue One. You know, we don't get a ton of character development, but every time I see, spoiler warning, every time I see his X-Wing fall out of the sky, it hits me a little bit. You know, I don't want him to go. And for that matter, all the heroes of the rebellion that match their demise in there. I think it was the right choice to kind of knock off our main characters there. Did you know that there was an idea floating out at one point, because they didn't think that Disney was going to let them kill off the main characters. So there was an idea at one point to have them freeze themselves in carbonite, and then that would be a way that they would be able to survive whatever kind of explosion was happening, and to keep these characters literally on ice for when Disney decided that they wanted to reuse them, if they decided they wanted to reuse them. I thought that was a really interesting idea, and of course we saw that with Han Solo, but we also saw a very similar plot device in the Clone Wars. So just interesting what could have been, but I think the heroic sacrifice on Scarif was the way to end that story. All right, so just putting the pads in here real quick. There are additional pads to fill it out if you need it for fitment standpoint. I don't think that that'll be something that's necessary, but I love that these use these brown pads on the inside. I love that color contrast in there. The colors in general on this look perfect. They look excellent. They're exact colors that I would expect them to be. It is a little weird still that there is sort of a gloss to it, and it makes sense that the helmet would be glossy, but it kind of looks like there's still gloss like where some of the weathering is, even though when you run your finger over top of it, there is some texture to it. My Black Series helmets, I believe, which I have one right here, these are all kept matte. So what do you guys think? Do you prefer the matte finish of the Black Series, or do you prefer the glossy finish of the Denuo Novo version? I think this is technically more accurate, and I think in some ways does look more real. It does look like a real prop, but there is something about having the shine gone on something that's meant for war. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the Anovos version of the raised salvage helmet. We'll put them side by side. We'll see how similar they are, because they are technically different helmets, but also kind of the same helmet. We'll check it out. Here we are with both of them. I did take a couple seconds off camera just to kind of look them over. As far as I can tell, they are the exact same mold, but there are some differences between them. I did kind of put them mohawk to mohawk to see if this width was the same, and it definitely is the same width. There's sort of a little lip that comes down this area right here. That appears to be slightly larger on the Anovos version. So that might literally just be how it was placed together. and then the Mohawk strip put over top, that maybe there's just a little more space between this one, a little less space between this one, or maybe the way it's trimmed on the inside, this one just has an extra millimeter or two. But as I sort of trace my fingers around the rest of the helmet, everything seems to really line up and be the same. I am reminded by how good the weathering is on this Anovos version and their approach to how they weathered the crest and things of that nature, I think is a little better. These don't really feel like decals. They do feel like they were kind of painted on and then scratched away and things of that nature to really get that custom finish, where these really are kind of printed on. Now, for all I know, this is how they did it in Rogue One, the actual prop, so perhaps that's more accurate for them, but I do know on the Luke Skywalker helmet that we looked at a couple weeks ago that that was not the case. The lenses are quite a bit different. You can see both in color and obviously in texture. Now, this being Rey's salvage helmet, this is meant to be really, really scratched up, and I'm glad that they didn't do that as much on there. However, a little bit of weathering on that lens would make sense. If your helmet looks like this, then this should probably have a few scratches on it. Just saying. And one thing that I wanted to point out that I noticed about the other one, my Luke Skywalker one, that is the smallest gripe in the world, and some of you will be like, oh yeah, totally, that makes sense. Others will be like, what are you even talking about? The helmets have this little dot on the side over here. And Black Series put it on there. But these two both, this one actually just straight up doesn't have it. And this one just has a little white dot on the side instead of it being raised. So again, maybe that's how they did it in Rogue One. I just know that's not true to the OT. So let me give this a quick little spin here. I'll put them sideways. One difference that I think is pretty obvious here is the microphone. I prefer the microphone setup that's on the Anovos one. It has both the microphone here, as well as this piece, which usually goes down the back of the helmet. I think it just sort of goes inside the flight suit, and theoretically it's supposed to be part of the comm system. You could say it's an antenna, or you could just say it's a loose wire that is meant to, in-universe, connect with a wire that's inside the flight suit. And then this one does not have that, and I think that this little microphone just does not look as good a quality as what they've done here with the piece here. I think this mic tip obviously is different, and this is, I think, more accurate for this era. We have to remember that even though this was in The Force Awakens, that this is technically from the Battle of Jakku, so they are not in the exact same time year-wise, but they are from the same era. I seem to be lacking a chin strap on this one. I don't know if that's supposed to be that way. It was new from Novo, so maybe in the movie Rey's helmet did not have a chin strap, but I am noticing the difference there. And they did put some weathering on that chin strap. I'll spin that back around here shortly so that you can see it. But again, great weathering on both. And also the other thing, the big glaring thing, is that this one, again, is glossy and this one is matte. So interesting. Like I said, it's not technically the same manufacturer, but from what we can tell, there are some common creative threads, and they are using the same molds and things of that nature to bring these products to market. Like I said, this chin strap has some great weathering on it. That was something I noticed about the Luke Skywalker helmet that I think really beats out the Black Series one, which gives you a completely stark white chin strap. I think that's definitely one of the places where Denuo Novo is doing better. Now, my pre-order on this, I think I put down $100 or so, and it shipped very recently, and I think the grand total was about $350. So for $350, not bad. Again, I was sort of in the process. I had already accepted that I was just going to take a Black Series helmet and repaint it and do the work myself. Black Series helmet is roughly $100. I was getting them a lot cheaper than that for a little while there, around 70 bucks or so through some GameStop things that were happening. You have to factor in the labor of painting it, and the decals I think were about 20, 30 bucks for the sheet. Would I have done this good of a job weathering it? Probably not, as I stand here and gripe a little bit about theirs, or at least, you know, point out some things about theirs. My guess is my weathering would not be as expertly done as this is. But kind of once again, to me, this is not 3.5 times better than what the Black Series is delivering. But at $350, it's not unreasonable. Now, if you were to go to Denuo Novo's website now and order this, it's about twice that. So it's not the area that I'm looking to play in when it comes to a collectibles. Collectors, we're gonna leave it there. I hope you enjoyed looking at the new Denuo Novo General Merrick helmet. I'm excited to have it. I love Rogue One. I actually might have some other Blue Squad things in the pipeline here. And this is, you know, oddly enough, this is the 5-year anniversary of Rogue One. So I actually thought that there was a chance that Black Series might release this helmet since they had the X-Wing mold, but instead they decided to do Trapper Wolf. Make sure you're following me on Instagram. I'm doing tons of Celebration updates there, things of that nature. We have a ton of videos coming out between now and Celebration, and then of course I'll be at Celebration all 4 days, as well as Disneyland, showing you all that stuff. So there's just a ton of really cool stuff happening, and I've got boxes behind the camera that need to be unboxed. I need to show you guys some stuff. So I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you later.